Welcome to another electrifying episode of the Commentary Booth live via satellite, where we peel back the curtain on your favourite wrestlers and their cinematic inspirations. I'm your host, Jamie Apps, and today we're amping up the excitement with a thrilling guest who recently made his debut for NJPW Tamashi, and prior to that has been making waves throughout Queensland wrestling, where he is a former Nightfall Wrestling Alliance tag team champion. Joining us live via satellite today, Logan Pearce.
Buongiorno. Thank you for having me, sir.
My pleasure. So we're here today to chat about your favorite movies and their influence on your wrestling career. Before we dive into that, how big a part of your life are movies and TV?
Well, that's the fun part. Before I realized wrestling was something I could actually do, I actually wanted to be an actor. That was my whole thing. I am more of a drama student than I am an athlete. I That was the main subject throughout everything, and I do what I thought were movie reviews, like little critiques and stuff to anyone that would listen. I'd never post them or anything like that. So I'd definitely say it was the second biggest piece of media I would ever consume behind gaming, obviously. Like that was the main thing. But that was my first what I could call passion, I guess, was wanting to be an actor, wanting to be in movies, wanted to be Hugh Jackman basically, and Hayden Christensen, because we shared a name and all that. Big Star Wars dude. So I'd say a pretty decent chunk.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then what then led you down the wrestling path instead of the acting path?
Hmm. Honestly, I'd probably say it was realizing I could do the wrestling. Like, for example, all through high school and then even outside of school, I acted and stuff like that. I was in the Mad Cow Theatre Company in Sydney and stuff like that. And then when I realized, what it took to actually get into acting per se, like going through a talent agency and all that stuff, the resumes and all that, I guess just my social anxiety stopped me, really. So I chose to just put it on the back burner and just ignore it, um, instead of like going putting myself out there. But then as to why I overcame the anxiety to go with wrestling would definitely be just because it's the big passion. It's only grown over time, and it kind of helps that at the time some people I went to high school with were going to do the training, so I tagged along with them that weekend. It was having people to go with me to the session, which is what made me pick up the wrestling over the acting, I guess, as opposed to doing that myself.
Yeah, you weren't just like putting yourself out there by yourself. You had other people
Yeah,
doing the same thing, experiencing the same issues and like difficulties with, okay, I'm out here in tiny wrestling gear and
yeah,
showing the world what I can do.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing. I hate going to the shops. I hate talking to strangers and stuff like that. But I don't know. Wrestling's a little bit different because it's not me. But that's a whole nother can of worms.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same thing. My partner says I don't like peopling. And I was like, yeah, I don't.
No, no, it's outrageous.
So then now the big question for the day, what have you chosen as the movie or TV show that has had the biggest influence on your wrestling career?
The movie I've chosen today is the Joaquin Phoenix movie, Joker from 2019. The first one, not the sequel. Don't We don't want to get there.
Have you seen the sequel?
I have not. I've heard nothing but bad things about it.
Same
Like
here.
there's a sicko part of me that wants to watch it because we all like a car crash or a plane crash or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. Just some of the stuff I've heard about it, I feel like it's too far over the edge. Like there's so bad it's good, and then it's just bad. I feel like I would be more angry because of how much I liked the first movie. I feel like sitting there watching it, I'd be like, right, you spat in my face with this one. Not a fan of you. But that's all right. That's fine. Not everything has to be for everyone.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I with the like and with the price of movie tickets and stuff these days, I don't think I can justify going to see a movie that I'm probably not going to enjoy from the sounds of things.
Yeah, and quite frankly, it's never just the ticket because you got your partner with you and stuff like that, and you're paying 45.87 for popcorn and what have you and stuff like that. And you look at the bag of Skittles. Sure, why not? This is my mortgage. Whatever, whatever.
With the original Joker, why was that one so important to you and how did you discover it?
Oh, just well, I've always been a fan of DC Comics, specifically like I grew up a huge Batman fan, kind of teeter towards Superman a little bit these days, but that's fine. And the Joker's always just been a really, really interesting character to me, just because he just looks cool. Like literally, the merch I'm wearing. This is my shirt, but it's literally the Joker when he takes the red hood off for the first time in The Killing Joke, when he sees his reflection for the first time and he has that mental snap and he goes into madness and stuff like that. And from the Batman Arkham games through all the stories and stuff like that, Death in the Family, and then I found out that they were making a movie about him, just him, and it wasn't really in the universe of Batman. It was just a standalone Joker project, and it wasn't going to be like anything else we'd seen before. And to be honest, I was dealing with an injury that, quite frankly, almost ended my career before it started. An injury that I picked up in training, and through all 2019, I was just rehabbing that, and just when I could finally walk again, pretty much, I snapped my leg, so that was fun. Um, I don't know, I just got some free time and just went out to the cinemas and kind of just went, okay, fine, let's turn off that little cynical part of the brain that tries to. I was really big on it's not how it is in the books. What's going on there? But I was like, all right,
Mhm.
let's just see where this goes. And I just remember being blown away. I've seen the movie twice in my entire life. I watched it once in the cinemas, and then I said, right, I never need to see that again because it has just immediately been burned into my brain.
Yep.
And then I watched it again to get ready for this, obviously, so I didn't
Yep.
miss anything. But that particular version of the Joker and why it influenced me, because it's easy to say, it's not good to say, I'm just like the Joker. He's me, for real, because he's such a random and out there character. It's never a good thing to say. I relate to the Joker because he's a crazy dude. But that particular version, how he had kind of everything explained in the sense of like, okay, no, he's damaged, he's messed up, but he wasn't always on just the bad path. He wanted to just be a regular dude. He wanted to just go through life day to day. He had a 9 to 5. He had a regular ass job, and some circumstances he got put in. That's what tipped him over the edge, and then it just kept spiraling and spiraling. And it was almost, I don't want to call him an anti-hero, because throughout the movie, and maybe we'll get into this a little bit more, but he's very clearly, very rarely in the right with how he's reacting to certain situations and what he's doing. But in his own head, everything's justified. So it makes sense as to why this character, this person we're seeing, goes on to become Batman's greatest rival. And I thought that was executed really well. It wasn't a lot of issues with these villain origin stories. For example, Cruella, how they just made her basically into a hero. And it's like, oh, the reason she hates Dalmatians is because Dalmatians killed her mum. Spoiler, by the way, if you haven't seen Cruella. And it's just like, okay, now you're justifying this woman who wanted to skin 101 puppies. That's not the same character. Maybe it's a multiverse, whatever. Whereas this dude, you can see how this dude would become that same character that we know and love. They could have just taken that character and continued with it in a separate comic universe if they wanted to, and I would have been all for it.
I think this is like the most relatable version of the Joker. It's not this crazy, outlandish, oh, he gets put into this vat of chemicals and comes out the other side. Like, he's just a dude who snaps and has just had shit thrown at him all of his life and eventually just goes, I've had enough. I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely feel like a lot of people can relate to that kind of, not necessarily those circumstances and what have you, but there's only so much you can take with just life until you eventually go off the edge, and that is kind of that's that's what I did with my character, basically. If I can speak in that, if we're turning off the kayfabe part of everything, um, I I always knew what I wanted to be, the character wise, what kind of person I wanted to be growing up if I ever did become a wrestler. I knew I wasn't going to be the super cool, serious Roman Reigns type, the awesome dude with the big muscles and the tattoos and stuff. Granted, I grew up to be that, but still, um, yeah, I kind of knew I wasn't going to be that. So it was like, okay, how about I just try to be interesting? Just try to be unique in my own way. And that's definitely what he is. For example, You ever heard of Injustice, the fighting game made by NetherRealm
Yep.
Studios?
Yep.
Yep. So how he moves in that, how a lot of his attacks and stuff are just like weird spinning shit, and he moves like, sorry for swearing, super unorthodox. That's stuff that I've tried to mimic in the ring with like my entrances and just the shoulder roll and the neck twitching and roll and just the general body language. How can I stand out from everyone else? And that's just stuff that I've taken from him. Not necessarily dressing up all crazy and different. Granted, last year I did have like a bit of a midlife crisis, and I did cut my hair off and dye it green, but that's a whole nother thing. Just that's just something I wanted to do because I'd never done it before. I regret doing it. I should have just gone blonde. But with that particular, how is Arthur Fleck's story related to Logan Pearce? Starts out as just he's literally a clown. And I don't know how much you've seen of my early work, but I got given a certain direction with who the promoter wanted me to be. And that's fine. That is a totally normal thing for rookies. It's like, hey, I want this from you. You can build your own skills and personality above that, whatever. I was told I need you to be almost like the male Bailey in a sense. Come out, rainbow tights, super fiery, just happy to be there because I was actually referred to as just happy to be here, Hayden, a couple times in life. That was
Hmm.
for something real. And so just kind of spread the joy, make the crowd feel energized. You're there, you're a face on there. So I did. I came out with the rainbow tights, the babyface fire, no matter what. I was always, oh gee willikers, I'll give it my absolute best. And then just the reactions started like initially it's like, yeah, cool, this guy's yelling during his entrance, whatever. And then the reactions just kind of dipped because it's like, okay, cool, you're not winning, you're not progressing. Like what's going on here?
Yeah, it's a very
So
like surface level character. There's no depth
yeah,
and extra
yeah,
to the character.
I've outright been told by, and I will not name names or anything, by promoters that it was difficult to find a use for me when I was Lucky Logan Pierce. Quite frankly, because it's like, okay, cool. We have baby faces here. We have established baby faces. We have people to hype the crowd up. What else can you do besides that? And it's like, yeah, I can have good matches. Like, you can have good matches, but what else do you bring? Like, what is your character? You're just happy to
Mhm.
be here. Okay, cool. That's nice. And then so that's the period of when he's just going through life, just working as the clown, whatever, blah 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 blah. Something goes wrong and he gets fired. He gets the sign taken from him. He gets blamed for it. Whatever. He gets smashed up on the train. Then that incident happens with the young gentleman in the gun. For me, that was probably so. To go off on a little bit of a tangent, I got to form a team with Charlie D, who has genuinely been a good friend and mentor to me for a very long time. Due to some circumstances, he wasn't able to commit to shows anymore. Therefore, I stopped getting booked in because we just formed a team in the tag division. Suddenly, he's not there anymore, so I'm not used. So I'm just sitting there wondering, okay, what is there for me? He comes back, he gets me a singles match, but it's against Mike Bradley, who was this absolute tank of a man. He's a police officer now, funny enough. Good on you, Mike. And I just get absolutely murdered. So then that same show, I kind of just lashed out a bit and I attacked him. That was my shooting the men on the train moment.
Wrestling fans, are you ready for the ultimate showdown? Pro Wrestling League and Renegades of Wrestling are teaming up to bring you the Australian Wrestling Super Show. It's all happening Friday, February 14th at the iconic Eaton's Hill Hotel in Brisbane. Kick off your AEW Grand Slam weekend with a night of epic action. Expect the unexpected, because with an open door policy, anything can happen. Who will show up? Who will throw down? Gold tickets are already sold out. Silver seats, they're over 50% gone. You don't want to miss this. Grab your tickets now at linktree/Pro Wrestling League and start your weekend with a bang.
Because, okay, you've left me high and dry, but you've gone out and you've made a new t shirt. And then you've come back and you've gotten yourself something and you've kind of taken care of me. I can't handle that anymore. Bang. So I take him out. And then it's those scenes when this is all stuff that I'm thinking about when I'm watching the movie, by the way. It's like what can I take from this? Just the general direction. Because I knew I was going to be just this white meat baby face for a long time. So I needed a reason and to plan how I was going to essentially turn, become something different. I needed a reason, but a justifiable reason. I think I think that was a big appeal to the Arthur Fleck story because he killed those people in self defense. Am I allowed to say that? He unalived people in self defense. It wasn't just like he randomly had a bad day and he just took it out on some random people. They were literally beating the snot out of him and then he shot him. But where he goes too far is he chases one of them down when he's defended himself from all the others. But then there's that one who's been hit in the leg and then he's running off. Arthur chases him down. And it's like, okay, that's what stops you from being just a hero and a guy defending himself, whatever. You're actively going out of your way to inflict harm on somebody. And that's what I did in that story with Charlie, because I went after Shinji. I went after his friend and I started getting involved with Charlie's matches and stuff like that. People were on my side when I turned on Charlie because I cut a pretty decent promo explaining my reasons. It made sense. And people were like, yes, that's good. But then I took it too far. I went overboard. I, I gave him a black eye. I punched him in the back of the head a bunch. I cost Shinji a match. I think it's important for a villain to have a clear motivation that everyone can understand, but you also need to make them a villain. Going back to the Cruella thing, she's just a hero now. How did she get to the point where she wants to skin the dogs? Not just 101, eventually deciding 102. Okay. So I think that was super appealing because you can see the justification in his mind, but then he goes too far, and it's like, okay, what do we go from here? And then he finds out the whole plot about Thomas Wayne. How Thomas Wayne might be his father. So it's a whole new element, it's a whole new layer to the thing. Okay, what's this about? Finds out that's a whole nother can of worms and is the reason why he has the brain damage and the serious laughing condition. Okay, right. So he lashes out and he takes it out on his mum and stuff like that. He takes it out and he bloody unalives her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very
It's a
intense
bit,
movie at times.
yeah. So when I rewatched it, I was like, yeah, no, this is genuinely a good watch. And I was like, and now I'm uncomfortable. Super duper. Awesome sauce. Bananas. But yeah, it was just really important to make sure that everything had a justifiable reason, but I was also taking it too far. And I think the movie did an excellent job with that, especially when he eventually becomes the Joker and comes out of his skin, finds his identity. When I turned, I was just wearing street clothes, blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm still trying to find myself. I'm kind of awkward, don't know really what I'm doing. There's still elements of who I was before. For example, how he continued to work the clown job, but he was taking a gun to the children's hospital.
Mhm.
Yeah, so he's got those new elements about him, but you can tell it's still the same person. And then it just keeps spiraling, 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 and then suddenly he plans to do something crazy on the what's his real name? His name's Robert De Niro, but his character's name was Maury. On the Maury show, he plans to go on there and top himself. He plans to top himself there. That isn't a direction I was planning to take with the character, but I definitely knew I needed to do something drastic to signify that this is the big turning point. And so his version of that was to color his hair, get a whole new alias, which is what the liability is, and get some new gear essentially, which is what I did. It was he everyone when they turn, they change their gear and stuff like that. So that was really easy for me to take from that and go, right, that's the stuff right there. So I took the smiley face, I took like the spray paint aesthetic and stuff, and I put it on the clovers, like I made the clovers bleeding and stuff like that. The whole thing was just about making sure everything had a clear reason and motivation, but it went too far. And that's what he does at the end when he starts cutting this essentially a promo to Robert De Niro, talking about how people can only take so much. You know, there's people being downtrodden, people like you laughing at us, blah, 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 blah. But then he goes overboard and he takes out Robert De Niro. That's what stops him from being a hero, because at the end of the day he is hurting other people, and that's what Logan does. Talking about myself like I'm not him. Yeah, you have my motivations. You know why I'm the way I am. You almost want to root for me, but I always go too far. JJ Avery
Yep.
beats me clean. I shake his hand and then I punch him in the back of the head and I stomp him out. Okay, cool. Well, you're not on our side now. You're not one of us. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like the key to having a good villain is that they think they're in the right the whole time.
Hmm.
So if they think they're in the right, they can justifiably do what they want. But yeah, I love how your turn was initially people could have looked at it as, oh, okay, now Logan is the good guy, we're gonna cheer for him and Charlie's the bad guy. But then when you take it too far, it's like, okay, no, this is the actual bad guy. He might not think he is, but he
No,
definitely is.
I've always tried with, you obviously can't every single time because it depends what people want at the end of the day. I don't have the pen, brother. But I've always tried to think of a reason why Logan would do something if I've been given a program or something to do. Like I've always tried to come up with a reason to justify it, which is what Arthur Fleck does in his mind. Every single thing that happens to him, he comes up with a reason. Like he invites his colleagues to his house and he kills one of them because he talked bad about him and told him, hey, he tried to buy a gun off me once, so he kills him. It's like, is that really a justifiable reason for killing a guy because he badmouthed you once? Probably not, but you've taken it so far and it makes sense in your head. So as far as you're concerned, you're doing the right thing. And then of course to keep himself as a good person, he lets the smaller fella go because he was nice to him once. Okay, fantastic.
And is that where your acting background and then also like other movie and TV influences like come into play where you're drawing inspiration from all different places? Or okay, you're gonna have this storyline with JJ for the next 6 shows.
Yeah.
Make it something interesting.
Yeah. I'm, let's call a spade a spade. I'm a better promo than I am a wrestler, but that's quite frankly just because I think my promos are of a pretty solid quality because I spend so much time doing line work and doing scenes and stuff like that and doing character write ups for motivations and stuff. Whereas I wasn't an athlete. So this is the last 3 years that I've been in the ring are the most physical I've been in my entire life. And it's just like, okay, cool. So there was a lot of foundation built for character work already. For in training, for example, I do okay. I do okay on the day-to-day stuff. But then when it was time for promo classes and stuff like that and selling stuff, fantastic. I'm all over that. And I'd like to think that's kind of what sets me apart from everybody else in a sense. I think my presentation, my energy, and just the way I talk and say stuff is makes me different, unique enough to get noticed.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like what every wrestler has to do. They have to bring your own strengths into it. Like it's such a diverse and multifaceted art form. You can't be great at every element. So use your strengths, highlight those, and hide those things that you're maybe not the best at.
Well, that's what it is. That's what the other person in the ring's for. We can work off each other. It's great. I'd like to think I've elevated some people with stuff I bring to the table, and they've definitely elevated me. Shout out to James Yeager. Definitely the best match work I've done of my career up to that point.
So then, if you are the Joker of Queensland wrestling, who would be your Batman?
That's a good question. Far out. Yo, this is a weird answer, but honestly, it feels like James Yeager is. That's a weird thing to say because obviously with the whole face and heel alignments, but he put out an Instagram post just after the purge, and it was him. It was a photo of him headbutting me, and the caption was, "Wherever I go, I must fight Logan Pearce."
Mhm.
James and I have had multiple feuds across multiple. I'm talking Wide Bay, Nightfall, Venom, APW. For very briefly, everywhere I've been, he's been as well, and he's beaten me more times than I've beaten him. But it's interesting because he's the bad guy in pretty much every single story actually we've had. He's just constantly there. He's a constant foil to me, even though I'm kind of the bad guy in everywhere else. That's an interesting point. I never thought of that. Damn.
And I guess if you look at the Batman Joker story, at times Batman is kind of the bad guy because he's pretty violent in some of these movies, like particularly the Nolan Batmans. He's just brutalizing people. He doesn't kill people, but he's definitely killing people in those movies.
And then you got the Keaton Batman who kills two people, and then you've got Ben Affleck's Batman who straight up he kills a guy. He shoots a guy's flamethrower. He shoots a guy's flamethrower backpack and it blows him up. That's murder. That's what that is. That is murder. That man is barbecue. And that just plays into being able to justify, I guess, having a rivalry with that guy. Because if if even one other person can see it from your point of view, that person can convince anyone. They can go out and convince any other like-minded person, and that's also what happens in the movie because he gets that mob at the end. He gets that loyal following, and that's what fans are. That's what people that buy this merch are. Thank you for that. Damn, we are covering some good stuff here.
That definitely sort of leaves you guys open to at some point to flip that dynamic and have you become the actual bad guy in a feud.
Imagine people trying to cheer James Yeager though. He would hate it. He would just melt. Imagine that. I'm not even sure he's capable of accepting like affection, I guess is the right word.
Yeah, some people just get so entrenched in being the bad guy, it's
He's
impossible to
basically a
then
cat.
become
He's
good.
a cat. You just shrivel up. Bless him.
And another thing I was thinking too, when you were talking about how you incorporate some movements and stuff, is John Moxley a big influence on you with the way he moves in the ring and time at times as well?
That's the thing. That's the fun. That's the thing. Because you look at him and you almost think that style is achievable, attainable. You think, oh, he's just a brawler. He's just a guy that goes in there and fights. But there's just so many little things he do that take it over that edge of a guy that's just in there slugging it out to legit to a guy that comes across and seems like he could genuinely beat anyone up in a fight. Honestly, I'd say more Dean Ambrose than John Moxley. I think there's a huge difference. I think Dean, I miss him so much. Dean he obviously had that wacky side. He had that wacky characteristic, but he could turn it on. I think that's what I've always tried to convey. Not take myself too, why so serious? Not take myself too seriously, but I can also beat you up and break your neck if I have to. That was the whole thing. I'd definitely say Dean was a huge influence, especially like the wide eyes and the staring and just getting in
Yep.
there, getting in the zone. Yeah,
I think Moxley incorporates a bit more of the sort of jujitsu, the legitimacy to his fight style.
big. Moxley is Dick Riggs, just the big, just big old hairy bastard throwing lariats at you. Whereas I'm definitely a lunatic fringe, just a little bit more on the teetery side, just a bit. Oh, he's a bit how you going? The wacky line rather than the clothesline, for example.
So also, of the Batman and Joker characters, who would you say are your top 3 Jokers and top 3 Batman?
Easily the favorites are the Arkhamverse, like the Arkham video games. I'm literally replaying those right now because I got a PS3, got to replay Arkham Origins. So definitely Mark Hamill, Kevin Conroy. Those those two are literally just hand in hand, the absolute best. You got Batman the animated TV show as well, which is both of them again, just perfectly building off of each other, as well as the Justice League animated show. So in terms of the actual Batman and Jokers, it'd definitely be the Arkhamverse. It feels cheap to say comics because it's like which ones, but probably the Nolan verse then, just because everyone loves Heath Ledger's Joker. Christian Bale's Batman was great as well. I feel like it's kind of a modern hot take to kind of dog on his portrayal of Batman, but it's like why? Why everyone does the voice? It's like he's
I thought he was fine.
he's an iconic character. He was good. His fighting left a little bit to be desired. A lot of drunken boxing, but that's
Yep.
besides the point. And then probably animated cartoon Joker, and then animated cartoon Batman as well, which was also Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. Probably those three would be my favorite iterations of the characters.
Okay. Yeah, I really enjoy Heath Ledger's Joker. I thought that was great. Uh, Jack Nicholson from the Batman movies as well. And I'm a big fan of the 60s Batman TV show.
Oh, like Adam
So
West and stuff.
so yeah, Adam West and Cesar Romero, they're
Yeah, Cesar
counterplay.
Romero, and his little mustache you could see through the paint.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
it looks so ridiculous.
he did.
And
Yeah.
I'm also a big fan of the Robert Pattinson Batman as well.
Here's the fun part. I haven't seen that movie.
Oh, I
I'm
think you'd
certain
be
I'd love it. I want to
yeah.
watch the Penguin show as well, but I've got a whole thing with my brain where I can't start something unless it's from the beginning. So I can't start video games unless I played the first one. I can't watch movies or shows unless I've seen the very beginning of it. Even if it's a reboot, I need to know all the references and all the little intricacies here and there.
Okay. Yeah, so you can't start the Penguin until you watch the Batman.
Nope, nope. I can't just go. Well, we'll get there eventually because I need that universe's version of an introduction to us. I need that character to be presented to us for the first time in the intended way. I can't just come into a show like his where he's the main character and then watch him in a movie where he's one of the antagonists. It'd be like, okay, that feels lazy. But I'm certain I'd love it. I'm certain I'd love the movie. They used something in the way for the trailers and everything, which is genuinely one of my favorite songs. So it's just like, okay, I might care about you. And then I just never watched it. Just never did it.
Well, I think if you give it, I think it's about 3 or 4 weeks to go, the Penguin will be finished. So then you'll be able to watch a whole lot in one hit.
Yep, just go. Kyla, I've always because we always watch movies together, but she's like, it's long. You can just feel free to watch that one on your own. And then I'm always just leaving it because it's like, hey, maybe I can suggest this one and we'll find the time to watch it. Because if I have free time, it's gaming or training or whatever, blah 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 blah. Throw that in there so I look like an athlete. It's hard for me to sit down and watch something unless I'm kind of made to and have someone to do it with. Otherwise, I'm just well, I'm going to game now. But it's like no, it's long. Watch it by yourself, please. So I'll probably do that now.
Yeah, you can knock it out while she's off touring the states.
That's the fun part as well. That's another reason why Arthur Fleck is literally me for real because he's got an imaginary girlfriend. Because mine's bloody out in the states right now, crushing it. She's not real. She's not here.
As we close out the episode, what would be the best piece of advice you've been given regarding incorporating character inspiration?
Make it make sense. So don't when you're turning right. Something I've seen a lot of people do is it's just such a drastic change that there's no traces of who they were before. Make sure that you have elements of who you were beforehand still in who you go to become. That way it shows growth as a character, as a person, rather than just completely transitioning to something new. That's advice from Edward Dusk, actually. And that's what I tried to do. You have this wacky face who goes on to become this super aggressive, angry heel. Find that middle ground where you're still having fun with what you're doing. Have the goofy movements, have the talking and the jiving with the crowd. Don't go on and just I'm a bad guy now. Don't go black and white. Find some grays.
Yeah, like unless you're sort of a character that's in a mask and you can come out, take the mask off, and be totally someone different, then you can do that. But if it's just you in a different outfit, you got to have that connection. People aren't going to come in and go, "Oh, that's a totally different guy now."
Yeah. Oh, he's not wearing his rainbow pants. He must be having a bad day. These pants make me evil. It's like no. Nobody just does that either. Like in real life, people change, but you can always kind of see who they used to be. And I think that's important with wrestling characters. Unless you're a luchador, then you can just go bananas.
Yep. So as we look ahead, what's in store for you in wrestling throughout the rest of 2024 and beyond into 2025?
2024, honestly, it's going to be a bit of resting. I've obviously just been at the Fale Dojo. Got it's tough over there. I got kind of injured a little bit here and there. Uh, I have one more match for the year. Hasn't been announced yet. Maybe it will by the time this comes out. Who knows? But this year it's just going to be about just surveying the scene, how everyone's seeing how everyone's evolved, seeing how much it's changed, because it really has. And then next year is just going full pelt. It is just running as hard as I possibly can. It is going into state again. It is working companies that I've never worked before. It is going back to companies that I've only worked once. QWA. It is really just about seeing how far I can take this instead of just kind of just being happy to be here. Happy to be here, Hayden.
Yeah, especially like at the moment with Queensland wrestling is really on the rise. There's some big stuff happening early next year, so lots to look forward to for Queensland wrestling.
Business is booming, as they say.
Yeah, as Slex says.
Oh, hang on a second. Am I allowed to do this? Business is booming. I've never met him, so he might actually not like that.
He
That
might
was
not
done with,
actually like that, but I don't know.
that was 100% respectful, sir. I okay.
Yeah, you might cross paths with him in Tamashi at some point now and just get a nice stiff chop at some point.
That yeah, fair enough. Honestly, fair enough. Why not? What's the worst that could happen?
Awesome. So finally, where is the best place for people to support you and track your wrestling journey moving forward?
Ah, probably just on the old Instagrams and the Twitters is probably what I'd say. You can find me on Instagram at loganpearce.pro and on X/Twitter I am lucky underscore Logan P or lucky Logan underscore P because I made the name back when I was still a good guy and you have to get verified to change your name. Super
Oh yeah,
duper.
they changed all those rules. That's annoying.
Yes. Yeah, I'm around. You can usually find me in the comment section of any company that I work because I actually really enjoy chirping. For example, some people commented hashtag we want Ryder in APW. The guy hasn't been there for a damn year and he commented it under one of my promos. I'm going to talk to you about that. Don't leave me on red. I know you've seen it. I know you've seen it.
Awesome. And yeah, it's an exciting time as a DC fan as well. Lots of exciting stuff coming on that side of the comic book space.
I'm so excited for that new Superman movie. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it looks very good.
Live action Guy Gardner. Let's go.
Awesome. Alrighty, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. Good luck with
Thank you.
everything in wrestling this year, and we'll catch you around Queensland wrestling and Australian wrestling in 2025.
Thank you, sir. And I hope to meet you one day. That would be nice. You never
I will
know.
be up there in February. So if you're around in
Well, I'm
Brisbane, I
here.
will be there.
I'm here in February, so let's go. I'll shake your hand very awkwardly. Hello.